Hello folks, I am Ed Overstreet and welcome to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel. I am outside right now imaging, well, I'm inside, but I'm imaging live outside, so let me share my screen. And first thing let's bring up the two telescope systems that I am using. I have the Smith-Cassegrain, which is a Celestron Edge. It's an 8-inch, and I have a 1600 ASI1600 mono camera on this, and then I have a Stellar View 70T refractor, and I have another 1600 Pro camera, two filter wheels, LRGB, HA, O3, and S2 cameras, filters on them. There's a set of Astrodon filters on the Stellar View and astronomic filters on the Smith-Cassegrain. And so let me show you what we're imaging, and I'm going to close out this outside surveillance camera, and let's head over to the first of these cameras, and this is the California Nebula in S2. I have been taking this over a couple of nights, and I'm currently looking to have 40 300-second images in S2. I want 55 300-second images in HA, and then 55 in O3. I know there's some O3 in this image. Chuck Aub put up a beautiful California Nebula that was rich in O3, so I'm going to aim for about 15 hours of O3 before I even try to process this image. And I'm getting close there. This is my second night of imaging it. I'm going to image it again tomorrow night and continue to add to this, and I'm determined to get some O3. The other telescope is waiting on M51, and while I'm waiting, I've been just looking at the moon. It's out in almost full, and I've just been kind of moving around the moon looking at some of the cool features. And I don't actually, I have the lume filter on this. I should have switched to blue, and I'd get better contrast. But you see how the moon is waving? That's just bad scene conditions. Now, I don't really understand why this is so bright, except it must be a real tall structure that the sun is still getting a good exposure on, because it's awfully bright in an area that's awfully dark. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the moon. I image it from time to time, kind of like right now when I'm waiting for my target to get into a altitude that I can start imaging it. I'll show you what I'm doing with that. Let's bring up Sky Safari 6 Pro, and I'm opening that up, and as soon as that gets open, I'll show you that. M51 is the Whirlpool Galaxy. I imaged it the other night with a one-shot color camera. It was the M50. I'm sorry, I didn't have the screen shared. You're still looking at my background. Well, this is the moon, and again, I'll take you around the moon because I thought I was already doing that, but you were just. And I'll show you that feature I was talking about. And again, I'm not an astronomer. I'm a horizontal photographer by profession, sports photographer, who got into astrophotography because my oldest son sent me a telescope about 10 years ago when I was laid up with a hip replacement. And it took me a while to get it set up and figure out how to attach a camera to it, but once I did, I was hooked. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know what that is. It's just a real bright area of the moon in an otherwise dark area, and the sun's striking something there to create this brightness, and it must just be a real tall structure. But again, I don't know enough about the moon, and those of you who do, I'd be interested in knowing what your thoughts are on that. But this is a live view of the sun, and seeing conditions are not really, they're not terrible, but they're not really that good. The moon is kind of wavy looking, and that's just due to the atmospheric issues between here and there. I have a atmospheric dispersion filter, and when I'm doing planetary or lunar, and that's my goal, I'll put that on. I'll also use a different camera than the 1600, but I'm really just passing time. This is what let me find M51. I'll just type it in here, M51 up here in the corner, and as you can see, it's right here. It's just now above the horizon, and I'm going to advance time a little bit, and I'm probably going to start imaging this about 30 degrees and about here, because my telescope will be in the direction of some of the darkest part of my suburban sky. And so I'm going to probably get started at about 10:40, and then I'll image it all night. Let me see, I'm going to go ahead and run this, and we'll watch it transit, see what time it's going to do that. And it's going to transit somewhere around 4 o'clock. So 5. All right, I'm going to have to stop at 6 because I'm going to get some daylight. So this is where the Whirlpool will be when I have to stop. It'll be 6 o'clock a.m. and I'll start getting some of the influence of the sun rising. So I'll stop about then. So my goal then is to image from about 10:40 to 6 o'clock. So I'll have about 8 hours, and let me go back to, we'll go back to here, and I'll bring up Sequence Generator Pro. So I've got my target all dialed in, M51, and I plan on having 7 hours of imaging exposure with Lume, red, green, blue, and HA. I'm going to take 10 180-second HA, and the rest are 75 RGB and 60 Lume images. 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and 180. uh, I'm at gain 139, offset 21. I actually have this one turned on now, off now, because I'm using SharpCap to image the moon while I wait for the Whirlpool to come along. We can go back over to the California Nebula, and let me just close that window out, and I'll stretch this some. And it's not a good rendering of it, but you can see some of the nebulosity features of the S2 in this. So it's pretty good. My half flux radius is 1.75, and I actually forgot to run my focus routine with the Moonlight focuser before I started. I have it set up so that I trigger all of the focuses with the exception of filter changes, and then it automatically refocuses with every filter change. But I keep an eye on the temperature. I use the Ultimate Power boxes, and these are where my data and my power connections are plugged in. This is a hub. It's a blue box, very small, that sits on my telescopes, and my camera is plugged in for power, as my mount is, my focuser, my flat panel, and it tells me how much amperage, 1.5 amps I'm currently pulling. It has the temperature outside, the relative humidity dew point, and it calculates when it's going to be necessary to turn on the dew heaters, and then it will turn them on down here. So far, the temperature and the dew point are running pretty parallel. When they start to intersect is when the dew heaters will come on, and that means moisture is going to start collecting on my kits. So the Pegasus controls the dew heaters and will turn them on only if it's necessary, and it will only send enough power. It will only heat them up to the extent they need to be heated up to combat the dew. Pretty cool. I love it. I love these. I have them on 3 kits, permanent kits that are outside. And you can check your USB connections if for some reason you've got some funky things happening with one of your pieces of kit. You can check and see if you're getting some issues with the USB ports, with your cables or your USB line. And so I love the power boxes. We're going to go back to our imaging, and again, my goal is to get another about 4 hours tonight. I've already got 4 hours. That'll be 8, and so I'm going to have around 25 hours in all when I get finished. And if there's any blue or cyan in this image, I'm going to find it, because I'm taking a lot of O3 before this is over with. As I said, I want about 15 hours of O3 in this image. There's plenty of HA. In fact, it is a hydrogen-rich area of nebulosity in the sky. So, okay, it's not a real good night of guiding because of the scene. I'm running at 0.98 RMS, and but it's, again, we've got some not so hot scene conditions, so it's been worse. And with the wide field, that's very forgiving. You can keep your sharp stars with even a 1.3, 1.4 RMS error, and it's manageable. And we'll get back to let's switch over to the other telescope, and again we're on the moon and we're playing around here. I'll take you back up to that spot. Let's see if it's still, yeah. If any of y'all understand this is a shadowy area of the moon right now, and there's a real bright area, and I'm just not sure what would cause that. I'm going to increase the region of interest to the native size of the camera. And so here's the moon in its fullness. Let me bring up EQ mode, which is actually my hand controller, and I want to go to the right some, and let's move it up some, kind of recenter it. I've got it set on lunar right here, so it should track fairly well. It's the mount is polar aligned within 1 arc second. Let's go a little bit. So it should stay without any guiding. It should stay pretty much in the center. But here's that area, and it's as bright as some of this area that has the sun. This is reflecting the sun's light, and so I don't know what that is. And I'm sending out a query to you guys that understand the moon, and I've got there's folks in my astronomy club that can name all of these regions and craters. I have no clue. I just enjoy looking at it. There's a lot of science here, and I like to take a capture. We'll knock off look at how pitiful this 1600. Of course, it's a 4656 by 3520 file, so it's a huge file, but it's 5.8 frames per second. But I'm going to take about a 200 frame image or AVI file of the moon, and I'm going to circle this and send it to our Discord group that hangs out on nights of imaging, and they'll know what it is. And I'll appear smarter next time I come on, and I really am. But I'm imaging the moon simply because I'm passing time until the Whirlpool Galaxy about 10:40 tonight will be about 28 to 30 degrees altitude, and I'll be shooting right over the horizon, but I'll be shooting into the darkest part of my suburban sky, so it'll work. I do it all the time. I'm in moonlight, and as you can see, the moon is almost fully exposed, so I'll have to do some dancing when I start processing this. By the way, I'm also processing the Macarian chain over here in PixInsight, and I'm running Drizzle. This is the blue data. I'm using PixInsight, but this is the Macarian chain right here, and I love this area of the sky, and it just fascinates me, this row of galaxies flanked by these two edge-on spiral galaxies. It's just what a neat part of the sky. But I'm having to drizzle. If you zoom in, you can see how this image is the stars look pretty good. And if I bring up the non-drizzled image and let me drag this over on top so we can compare stars, and let me move this down some. Well, let me do it this way. Let me just get this whole thing out of the way. Do it again. Okay, this star is this star. This is real boxy looking because my camera telescope combination is undersampling. And so what I have to do is drizzle 2 times to have a decent looking star. I'm going to zoom a little bit into this. Zoom a little bit in this, and you can really see the difference in a star that is not drizzled and a star that is when you're undersampled. So I am going to I'm going to call this the blue blue. I can't spell. Can't see the keyboard for this mic. So I have the blue under wraps, and before it takes a while to drizzle these images, so I'm going to save this project so that I don't lose my data to date. And this is M86, and it's the carrying chain, and I'm going to save that. And let's see, we're in 2022 February, and here's the Macarian chain, so I'll save it there, and it'll save everything I've done so far. So if I lose it, I can just open this project back up, and everything you see on my desktop will be populated. PixInsight's been crashing on me since this last update. I don't know if it is my Mac, and it only crashes when I drizzle. So it's still clocking. We'll go back to I think it just stopped. Let me go back to Pix again. Okay, so I'm going to clear these files, and then I'm going to add. Alrighty, you find your drizzled files in the registered, and so I just did the blue. Now I'm going to do the green, and you can see it's got XDRZ, meaning that these are the drizzled files. And so I need to open up drizzle integration, which is what this is, and I just click apply globally, and so it's starting that process. And I'll drizzle each one of these images before I even start working on it. So let's go back to check our gear. And we have, again, we're imaging the California Nebula. So let's create a medium stretch. And we are currently on taking S2 data. We've got about 3 hours and 45 minutes remaining to get the balance of the S2 data. I haven't done all this just tonight. I started on this a couple of days ago, then we had some bad weather, and so I'm picking it up again tonight. And as I've mentioned earlier, I hope to have about 15 hours of O3 when I'm done, but about 25 hours of total imaging time. The rest of it will be between the HA and the S2. But there's so much SHA in here, and there's a fair amount of S2. They just dominate and swamp any O3. So I've got to figure out a way to pixel math this into a image that shows the blue. I'll figure it out. I just got to think about it before I start doing it. Whoa, I was looking at my, that's not a dither, that's, and I don't have any wind, so it's not a gust of wind. I'm looking down here at my PhD, everything's going fine, and then I've got this hiccup. There it is. Oh, I got another one. What's going on? I may have to, let's just stop it. Let's restart it. Start guiding. Let's find a star, and let's reset this. I find sometimes the best thing to do, let's go from 1 second, which is working fine for me, to 1.5. I find 116, 110, 105, 101, 98, it's coming down. That if I start getting crazy things happening, it helps as soon as you can identify that just to stop it. And sometimes I disconnect the equipment, connect it back, and start again. Now I have ran, I did a calibration, and I ran the guiding assistant for 5 minutes, and I accepted the recommendations. So I ran the guiding, I always do a calibration when I do calibrate, and I don't calibrate every night, but I've been changing kit. So here we go, that's not good. I may have to manually pick another guide star. It's a big one. And the scene conditions aren't good, so it's hard. When scene conditions aren't good, your stars will twinkle. And the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star song is not cool. It's not cool at all, because your guiding software is trying to correct for twinkling, because it moves a little bit, and that's atmospheric, just like you see the moon. We'll go back over here, and you can't see it. It doesn't look so wavy there, but let me let's go up here and let's zoom about 100%. And now you can see the waviness of it, and that's what the star is doing. And so PhD is seeing this star move, and it's thinking that it's the mount, and so it's sending a correction, and it's not correctable, and you'll fight. They'll fight all night long. I don't care how good your periodic correction curve is. It'll help, but it won't help this. But when seeing is not good, guiding is not good, and that is the same thing if you have, there's very few mounts, very few, that have the ability to combat this. So anyway, you just deal with it. I love taking pictures of the night sky. I'm fascinated just thinking that here I am in my office in my home, about 60 yards from my telescopes, warm, cozy, in front of a big screen computer, and I'm sitting here looking at the moon. We'll drop the exposure down a little bit, and while I'm doing that, I'll bring up my outside cameras, and our camera. There's two on the fence. One's aimed at the sky, but sky is crystal clear. This is the stellar view, and it's imaging the California Nebula right now. It's got about 3.5 hours left, and then this is the 8-inch Smith Cassegrain that's currently zeroed in on this moon image. Gosh, this is fun. I so enjoy the nights. The skies are clear, and I will say this though, a little disappointed that I'm moving so much, because that's been about 10 minutes, and this thing is moving both in RA and in deck. And it usually doesn't do that. Well, I'll say it usually doesn't do that. When it's unguided, I should be able to go for 3 or 4 minutes without noticing any kind of a move. I usually can. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, sometime around, let's go back to now, and I'll show you where this is the Whirlpool Galaxy, and it's just right now. Let's go on over and see where it is. Altitude wise, it's at 10 degrees. I'm right over here, and at about 10:40 it'll be around 30 degrees. That's this green line, and so that's when I plan to leave the moon and head over to the Whirlpool, and I'll start imaging that, and I'll image that until 6 in the morning. I'll get about 7 hours of the Whirlpool. I'm gonna have to babysit this though at first, because once I start imaging, I'm not 100% sure about my choices for. Ooh, look at here! Goodness. I made some kit adjustments, and I have a pretty good handle on the cable management, but something's going on, and I might have to head out there. I'm going to probably go offline in a few minutes. Look at my stars. Let me I'll show you what happens when you get zoom in. See what happened to my stars. So I'll mark this as bad, so this one we don't need. And when I mark it as bad, it automatically changes this from 26. It had 26 taken to 25. So when I go through here, it knows I want 40 images in S2 tonight. So if I scrub through my images and I mark them as bad, it does make the adjustment here so that I can end up with the 40 images. Time allowed. Sequence Generator Pro is a dawdled software to use. It's just I love it. And from my perspective, it's well worth the money. Oh my goodness, look at this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave you guys and head outside and look at what's going on. Now, what's got me a little bit concerned is the mount hasn't moved too much, and the guiding for the first hour or so went perfect. So I wonder, maybe just all seen, but this choppiness is seeing conditions. But when I get those large spike, That's what it is. Those spikes were in both RA and DEC. So that's seen when that happens. Let's stop it again. I'm going to disconnect the equipment. I'm going to start looping. And let's start guiding. It's clear, clear, clear. Off to my left, I have a television watching the skiing. I can't believe these guys skiing, doing flips upside down. Gal coming down backwards and skiing backwards. Okay, let's head back to, I'm going to check everything once again and bring up our software, and let's go ahead and check back another image. I think this one is going to have to get rid of it too. Yep, mark it as bad. Let's go back again. This one's okay. You got some streaking to it, but PixInsight will remove that. This is fine. That's fine. That's fine. It was just those last couple. So, I may have to sit here and babysit this all night. Well, for the 4 hours that I hadn't planned on doing that, by the way. So far, this is looking a little better, but we're going to be fighting scene unless it gets a little better. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me bring up wrong one. Still the wrong. Here we go. Medial blue. All right, let me accept. Yeah, it's not too bad. Monday night, we're right in here, and the scene is rated 4. That's not so bad. But the arc second is 2.3, not good. And the jet stream, that's what we're looking at right here, is it's about 80 miles an hour. So anytime the jet stream is in the red, then you can almost count on some scene issues. But this level right here in the green is also pretty important. You see, tomorrow night, later tonight, going into Tuesday, the scene is going to get better. In fact, it's going to get better. It's going to get down to around 1.56 arc seconds around 4. So, and it looks like I'll be able to image the sun tomorrow. That's looking pretty good, but the jet stream is still a mess. Got some clouds coming in right here between 11 and 12. High clouds. Okay. Well, my friends, fellow astro imagers, and folks thinking about getting into this hobby, I can't think of anything else that I would rather do hobby-wise than to oh, look at this one. This one's a throwaway too. Let's go to 100%. So, yep, mark it as bad. I'll show you that it was at 25 and it went back to 24 when I marked it as bad. So it's going to do its best to get me my 40 images, and it recalculates the time. So right now I'm throwing them away as fast as I'm taking them. So I'm going to check the cables just to make sure I don't have anything dragging. It's very possible. that I've got a cable that's just laying on something, and as the mount moves, it just tugs it a little bit. So I have, how many do I have that are bad? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 3 bad ones, 3 in a row. Guiding seems to be settling down a little bit, but I expect it to be, I expect some more of that nonsense. It's going to be even worse when I start on the Whirlpool. Disappointing, because the Whirlpool will, I'll be at 1440 with the 70 reducer, 1440 focal length. So the more the focal length, the more guiding errors really take a toll on your image. So, but it is what it is, and I love doing it, and I'll just try to deal with it, and I'll delete the ones that aren't any good. I'll keep the ones I have, and I'll continue adding images until I have enough for a pretty picture, I hope. Alright, back to the moon, and then look, I have shifted again. Let's go back over, going south and going west, and there we are. So folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed spending some time on YouTube, just do a like and a subscribe. And I do a lot of live. I just started this YouTube channel. I have no desire at all to do anything but have fun on it. At age 76, at age about to turn 77, I am I've retired 3 times, so I'm comfortable, and so I'm not interested in I'm not looking to create a financial empire at all. I love doing this, and I enjoy sharing what I'm doing with the community that likes up imaging. So hope everybody has a good rest of the day or evening, whenever you watch this. And again, consider liking, and I will catch you again when I'm online or I put up another video.